Okay. So yeah, so see, I have many questions to ask, okay, because a lot of people, when I inform them like I'm going to talk to Richard, and then they said, please ask all those questions. So I have prepared a few questions for you. So let's
Okay.
go with one by one. So first is like, what is your marketing plan? It's been 3 years and still it's not yet started. People keep asking, what is happening? A lot of development is happening, a lot of announcement is happening, but what about the marketing?
Okay, well, you're going to be the first person to hear me use this expression. So we are gearing up as we speak for what we've been calling in the company for a long time, phase 2. So phase 1 has been very much about adoption. And for that, we have had to have a sort of coin inflationary phase. We've certainly pumped out a lot of ETN in a global giveaway. And that's been really required for gaining these user numbers that we have, and to garner the interest that we've had in the project. But the next phase, so the part of the first phase is where we absolutely had to build a full ecosystem. So we had to have a way of earning ETN, because our market is unbanked. It's not fair to say go and open an exchange account. So we had to have a way of earning it. That took longer than we anticipated. The launch of any task was really I think I'm willing to take the blame squarely on my shoulders rather than anyone in the team. We built an overly complicated beast to start with. We outsourced a lot of it because we were busy on the main platform. But eventually what we've launched is absolutely awesome, which is this any task platform that people in the global north, or the people that are buying from the likes of Fiverr or Freelancer can pay for a task with a credit card, and then the remittance takes place in ETN. So there's a way to earn. There's a way so we can effectively say that now people can earn and they can spend, because we've got 140 countries where you can actually buy mobile top up. We've got about 300 plus websites that accept ETN, and part of phase 2 is going to be a massive push on adoption and acceptance of ETN as a payment mechanism. There's been all sorts of things that I won't go into in great detail as to why there's been delays, but I can say that phase 2 is well and truly on our planning books, and I am dealing with a couple of people who are in the crypto marketing space outside of our own marketing team that we are also bringing on to be able to drive us into markets that are beyond our knowledge and reach. So yeah, we've called the first sort of stage of building the platform and getting everything ready phase 1, and we are coming to an end of phase 1 within the next couple of months, probably 5 or 6 weeks. I always end up giving dates, and it bites me in the bottom. But yeah, I would say we're within 2 months of hitting phase 2, which will absolutely, no doubt whatsoever, be involving a big push in terms of both brand marketing, in terms of Electroneum, and also AnyTask as a platform to be bringing on those all-important buyers of tasks to ensure that the sellers have got a vehicle to earn. So it's well on the way, and trust me, we haven't forgotten about it, and we've been working fairly tirelessly to make sure that this whole thing is going to work as an ecosystem. And yeah, phase 2 very much on the way.
One question people always asking after the launch of any task, why Electroneum is not including as a payment option in any task?
Important question. It will be at some point. There were reasons that we launched it the way we did. We really wanted to do something that no crypto platform has ever done, which is, because there are a number of these that have been attempted as pure crypto plays. So you had to buy with, say, Bitcoin, or buy with ETH, or buy with any number of a couple of things that have been tried. But the problem with pure crypto plays was that your average everyday buyer, the majority of the buyers, you'd have to take them on various journeys. So the first journey you'd have to take them on is explaining about crypto, because still crypto is not mainstream. So that you'd have to educate them about crypto. Then they'd have to go to an exchange and buy some crypto, which they could then deposit with you to make purchases. And the barriers were too high. So we're seeing hundreds of sales. In fact, we're probably into a couple of thousands of sales, actually. I say hundreds, we're getting hundreds regularly. So we are at a position where I'm very confident that that would not be happening if we hadn't gone down the route we have. So what we've got is we've got credit cards, debit cards coming in, providing the buyers with the ability to get access to this market. Now, you're already almost certainly aware, and your viewership will probably be aware that the international banking, they're not huge fans of cryptocurrency. So we've had problems with banking as a company because we're a cryptocurrency company, and an awful lot of cryptocurrency projects will tell you that banking relationships are an issue. So what we've had to do is we've had to ring fence AnyTask, bizarrely enough, away from crypto. So AnyTask just takes sterling or US dollars. It takes fiat money, and then we have another company that handles cryptocurrency, and they accept fiat money from that company. So we are completely devoid of touching crypto. And to get that live, we went live as fast as we could. Now, there is a way for us to now start accepting crypto, which is exactly the same thing, but by adding another vehicle, which accepts the cryptocurrency, converts it into fiat and transfers it. But we've already got one lot of transactional nightmare of making sure that we carry a pot, and our lawyers sorted it all out. We are going to introduce the next one as well. We're going to be a good few months away from that, maybe 6 months away from that. But it is going to come at some stage, because I do know already we've got some fantastic testimonials coming out of people that are using the platform. And what some of them are already doing is using because we don't limit communication, they're actually talking to other people on the platform and negotiating with them in ETN outside of the platform so that they can buy sub-services and put them together. So we definitely want to do it. It's not about not doing it. There were two reasons. One was banking, which we solved and wanted to get it to market because it was already behind. So we got it to market as fast as we could. The second reason was anonymity. One of the things that I've seen in all of the other attempts, I think all of them have suffered from the fact that pure crypto plays gives you an anonymous ability to purchase a service. As soon as anonymous purchase comes into play on any platform, you start getting people selling things on there that are possibly illegal or probably illegal or definitely illegal. And we really want to hit this. We want to be the regulated side of cryptocurrency. There are already plenty of cryptocurrencies out there that are the other side, that are for the unregulated markets. We're very much for being regulated. We want to be 100% by the book, 100% legal, so that we can be adopted and embraced by authority. So we wanted to make sure that we knew who people were. We're working with some vulnerable people. Some of the people, who are the poorest people in the world, potentially, or certainly maybe one rung up from the poorest people. They have smartphone access and internet, so they're not the poorest people, but they're certainly low down on the ladder, should we say. And some of those people are in a vulnerable position. And the last thing that I wanted to see was somebody who has money using that to influence and perhaps corrupt people that they would have access to through our platform. So it's been built that way for a very good reason, certainly working in terms of driving sales. And hold that thought. You will see it come online, but what we will be doing is we'll be limiting it to people that have got KYC accounts, so know your customer accounts. So we won't be allowing anonymous use of ETN. And for some people, that will be an issue. They won't be able to buy unless they've already got some form of government ID or whatever. So not everybody will be able to buy with ETN, I'm afraid, because if you haven't got government ID, we wouldn't be able to allow it, because we have to keep that protection for the users.
All right. So in some time we can see this thing is happening, right? Okay.
Yes.
So I heard people can buy food with BTC and ETH in London. Is that true? And if that's the case, so when are you going to push a wider adoption of the ETN in the user world?
Okay, so first of all, I mean, we've built ETN or Electroneum. We've built the entire system to be able to be used in the real world. So you were saying about buying food with Bitcoin and Ethereum, and one of the things that both Bitcoin and Ethereum have is you have to wait for the blockchain to say yes. That's exactly right. So a number of blocks past the block that the transaction is in would be the confirmation blocks, exactly as you said. And it differs from blockchain to blockchain. Most people wait 6 blocks on Bitcoin. Some people wait 3 blocks on Bitcoin. But the idea behind that, the confirmations, is that any block, well, not any blockchain, but most blockchains can actually fork off and come back again. You can have 2 chains running in parallel, and then the number of confirmations means that it works out which one of those is the true chain, and then the other transactions would drop back into the mempool or might not get processed. So there's a reason for it to exist. Those confirmations are there for a very good reason, and they protect the person who's selling the item. So we knew that if you wanted to use Electroneum, if we wanted to use Electroneum for buying from a street vendor, for instance, or going into a coffee shop, we had to have instantaneous transactions. So we built that system. It's called the Electroneum Instant Payment System. And it's because it works entirely because the Electroneum app, all apps have to be centralized by the definition of apps. They have to be run by a company. You have to sign things for Apple or for Google. And so as such, what we've got is not just a centralized app, but we've got a centralized custodial wallet system. So we actually look after the private keys. And that enables us to do something which is very useful in the real world, which is we can have instant payments. So if one person holds up their app with a QR code, or they can be remote, it could be on a till, or it could be on an e-commerce site around the other side of the world. You bleep the QR code, and the instant you do that, it says, do you want to confirm? You enter your PIN number and hit the button. And then you have this instantaneous thing that takes place, which is a bit like the credit card world, where you walk in and if you've got contactless payments, or you've got Apple Pay or any other number of these things, the vendor doesn't immediately get the funds. What they get is they get a confirmation that the funds are on the way. That's how our instant payment system works, except it works a lot faster than the banks. So you'll get an instant confirmation. And then what our system does at the back end is, because we've got the private keys, we wrap that amount in their wallet in a way that prevents them double spending it. So that if they've got $100 worth of ETN and they've spent $20, they've still got $80 they can spend, so they can go off and spend more. But that $20 we now process. It goes into a queue and it gets processed. Normally takes about 20 minutes. If we're really, really busy, it could take up to 40 minutes to arrive with the vendor. And 40 minutes is a lot faster than the banks. Normally takes a couple of days. But that technology is in place. Now, I don't know how many people we've got in London that would take ETN. A few diehard fans perhaps, but what we have got, there are places in Nigeria, there are places in South Africa, there are places in Uganda. Places are starting to accept ETN, and we've done some interviews in hairdressers and barbers in Nigeria, I think. In Uganda, there's a few small shops. Not sure if there are any food shops. I know there are a few tech shops.
Even in Thailand, also some dentists started accepting ETN.
Brilliant. So, but what we need to do is there's one thing that we need to do that actually I was just about to spiel into, and my lawyers have poked me with a stick and said that I can't talk about. But something's happening in the back end that's a good thing. Let me assure you. That is good for this adoption and embracing by vendors. And we effectively need to get this stuff that's out there. There's a huge amount of ETN out there now in people's hands, and we have to now start getting people to make more use of it. And when I say more use of it, I mean, we've still got thousands upon thousands of transactions every day on our blockchain. People are using it, but we've always talked about mass adoption. But I think it's important to say everyone talks about mass adoption in crypto, and it's a massively overused term, as is unbanked. Everyone's jumped on that. But there are a few things. So Electroneum has got instant payment between the app. For the unbanked, I think that's absolutely critical, because you need that instantaneousness to make it useful for a street vendor. Then that takes cash out of their pockets and hides it in a secure way in their phone, which is always good. But the other thing that you have with anything that's making transfers is you have to have adoption before you can get mass adoption. And so many people are out there talking about mass adoption, including us, but we are focusing on we've got maybe 3,000 task listers on any task right now, but we want to get the first 1,000 people earning a good supplementary living with ETN and being able to spend it. And we're picking some various countries, and India is going to be one of them, where we can literally focus some attention and say, right, we've got great people here with great skills. They can sell those skills. We can focus that. Let's get the first 1,000, then we can get the next 1,000, then we can get to 5,000, then we can get to 10,000. So you have to get adoption to get to mass adoption. So we've got mass distribution of Electroneum, but we don't have hundreds of thousands of people using it every day. And that is where we will take this if we do it right.
All right. So another question is, as we all know, the main target area is developing nation for Electroneum. But I think we should focus at the same time to develop nation as well. I'm sure you're aware of this company called crypto.com. So they have launched their MCO Visa card. So what they are giving to their user is, if you get this card, you can use this card to pay for Spotify subscription, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and so many other brands also. So in future, if Electroneum get this kind of partnership with this kind of brands, do you think this is a great way to market?
100%. So two things on that. The first thing is that's most certainly in our phase 2 marketing plan, that we need to get more exposure. I think our first part really is that we need the crypto community to get back behind Electroneum. We had a lot of fanfare at the beginning because we've got grand ideas, and those grand ideas have been largely realized. And what's been sort of slightly odd for us is that they've been realized, and we've done more than 99% of other crypto projects out there. We've actually delivered amazing things, and we've got this ecosystem that people dream of, that we have. We've got more users than virtually every other crypto, probably more users than anything outside the top 10 crypto projects, probably maybe even the top 5 crypto projects. We're right up there with the number of users. So we've delivered amazing things, but the crypto community only focus on one thing. I won't talk about what it is, but you know what it is, and crypto community know what it is. They only focus on that one thing, and we couldn't support that whilst getting the distribution that we needed in terms of ETN distribution. So we will be supporting the crypto community as we move into phase 2. So I can't give exact details of what that all means, but I think the crypto community probably can understand it. So we need to get the crypto community back on board, and we have a plan to do so. And they are, of course, in huge numbers in the developed world as well as the developing world. So very much part of our plan. But another part of our plan, which again we thought we'd have this done by last Christmas, and as all things do in crypto, they run over due to lawyers and a nightmare of getting anything done in this world. But we've now engaged a different set of US lawyers to come up with this magical document for us that will get us back onto US exchanges. And they have to do an awful lot of stuff, and we've had to change some back-end structure of our business, of how our sort of corporate structure operates to enable us to move into a place where we can get back onto US exchanges. You'd think, ironically, because we are a KYC embracing, so we've got KYC AML, so know your customer, anti-money laundering. We knew right back when, we knew that the crypto space was going to be regulated eventually. In the UK, all fintech is regulated by something called the FCA, Financial Conduct Authority in the UK, and we are under obligation to be under the FCA by January 2021. So we are literally jumping through fiery hoops at the moment. We've built a system that we think is robust, probably more robust than it needs to be actually, for what's called the 5th European Directive of AML. So we're building everything for the long term, and you would think that would immediately mean that we are very eligible for US exchanges. But of course, US law and UK law differ greatly, so we have to make sure that everything's good for the US as well as the UK, which introduces some complications. But we are absolutely on it, and we definitely know, and we are very keen to get back into US exchanges. We've got huge followings in the United States, and a lot of belief in the project, and it's probably our #1 exchange priority to get back into the United States. At the same time, we've got a lot of community people saying, when you're going to get onto Binance. The reality of it is, and whilst we actually do have a contact at Binance now. He's a great guy. He's working in the Binance projects that are out in. So we've been talking to him about Nigeria and a couple of other places. So Binance have the same dreams and goals as we do in terms of crypto adoption, but our trading side, so the sort of speculative side of Electroneum, there's not enough volume. So Binance is a business, they want to make money. Of course they do. I don't blame them for that. So they look at our volumes and how much is being traded, and they think, well, there's not enough money in having that on board, which is almost certainly why we haven't been listed. So all I can say is that we're going to be making an effort in that respect as well. And I think that our advertising and trying to bring that crypto community back in to having their passion about ETN again should drive a lot more volume back in. And then hopefully we can open doors, not just to the American exchanges, but to the likes of the Binance of the world. And a question you sort of said a little bit earlier, are we talking to anyone specifically in India? We have people reaching out to some utility companies. Because we've got this third party relationship to enable us to have top up with so many providers. We actually, it takes so long to negotiate directly with a mobile network operator. It was probably a year or more of negotiations for us to open up Cambodia with Cellcard. So it took an awful long time, and it's quite hard work from both their side and our side. Bear in mind, Cellcard did a hell of a thing by getting involved with a crypto company. They're very progressive, those guys, and they really, really want to help the people of Cambodia and be a strong brand that genuinely cares about people. So I think that it's quite hard to find MNOs that are as forward-thinking as those guys, or as passionate about people as well as they are money. So people are nervous about cryptocurrency. Bear in mind, if you take $1 million in cryptocurrency and it goes down by 10%, and you only have a 3 or 7% operating margin, you might have just wiped out your entire profit from that by 2 or 3 times. People are fearful of crypto still in mass adoption terms because of its volatility. So there are lots of reasons to avoid direct, to avoid being bogged down in having to go direct if you can go a different route. But where it comes slightly differently, and this is what we've done with approaching the utility companies, is what we've found is we've got an OTC desk, an over-the-counter trading desk that deals with many cryptos, and they love the way that we've got this set up, and they're happy to onboard any of these utility companies, and they take the ETN. They're confident of trading it, possibly for a profit, but there's certainly a margin built into it. So if we're selling a $50 utility top up, it might well cost $55 worth of ETN, and that margin is not for us. That margin is actually for the OTC desk to make sure that they come out of it with a profit. But what it means to the utility companies, they no longer have to worry about that cryptocurrency volatility. The cryptocurrency volatility has already been taken care of, and what they end up with is a fiat transfer. And that has been opening doors all over the place. Our time now is actually how long it takes to integrate the APIs at the back end. So there's lots of contract signing and all of that, of course, but then there is API integration and app integration. So we're also looking at a system that enables us to create API plugins, so that we could perhaps outsource the API plugins and then plug them into our system without any security issues. So we're thinking, quite long term, and all these things are most assuredly on our list, and if they're not in our head, they're already being developed.
All right. One question, a lot of people asking why Electroneum price is falling. Okay, fine. We can understand it's all depends on supply and demand, but why the ranking is also falling at the same time?
Yeah. Well, the rank is based on price. So of course the price and the rank are one and the same thing. Unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, CoinMarketCap doesn't list the best products at the top. It lists the one with the highest market capitalization. all of the projects that sit at the top of CoinMarketCap, well, there's a mixture. Some of the projects at the top of that list are you know, some of my real favorites for things that they could genuinely do. Some of them are less so, shall we say, and certainly more than 100 projects above us have done considerably less. Some of them have done literally nothing whatsoever. But it's entirely based upon the speculative value of their tokens, which is understandable. And of course, the number of tokens in existence times by their price is what makes the market capitalization grow, and that pushes you up the list. Now, do I think we will be pushing back up that list? Yes, I do. Now, there are a couple of reasons behind that. Inflation, which is a necessary thing to happen for distribution of a cryptocurrency. I read a couple of years ago, probably, an interesting article. It'll still be out there on the web about Bitcoin, and it was on Hacker Noon, I think. But it was a great article that talked about everything that's awesome about Bitcoin, and everything that's awesome about Bitcoin is still the awesome stuff about Bitcoin. But when it first came out, 2009, end of, so 2010 perhaps, before anybody had really heard of it, 2010, it did not have giant adoption. Now, it took a long time for it to get into the hands of lots and lots and lots of people. And a lot of people have talked about how that has been something that if only more people had Bitcoin in their pockets, then Bitcoin would have been adopted already by major institutions, and it would have been out there. But it's taken a long time, and is still taking time for it to get out there, because the only place you can get a bit of Bitcoin from is from a Bitcoin miner, hard to do, or somebody who already has a bit of Bitcoin. So it's been relatively hard. Now, what we did as Electroneum is we made the decision to pump out a gargantuan amount of ETN to get very wide distribution. So we have maybe we've got 3.6 million wallets plus on our custodial wallet system. There are other people around as well that have got it. To be fair, we've got a lot of people that are bots trying to get our rewards. So if you chopped out, even if you were massively overestimating the number of bots that we've chopped out of our system, we've got at least 2.5 million app downloads. So we know that there are at least 2.5 million genuine people that have got a little bit of ETN. We have 700,000 what I would call active wallets. These are people that are engaged users. Now, we have bought our way into that with the ETN reward system. And as such, that has been an inflationary event in terms of the number of coins that are out there. All I can tell you is that, I won't go into the details, but phase 2, we are going to be addressing our token economics so that we are in a better position, so that our corporate partnerships are happy. And like I say, my lawyers poke me with a stick whenever I go near this topic. It's a very difficult topic to talk about. Like I say, we are under the future FCA regulation. We have to be prepared to be a regulated thing. And as such, talking about price is very, very awkward. But we're aware of it. And all I can say is that phase of very far and very wide distribution will be coming to an end at some stage, which will have an effect. So I don't like to talk about it too much, because it could jeopardize us from a legal standing. But we're very aware of it, and we've got the distribution we need. We've had a bigger distribution than virtually every other crypto project outside the top 5. So now what we can do is we can make use of that distribution in a different way. So phase 2, we're still, like I said, I wouldn't have come on to talk about phase 2, but you've asked me those questions, and I don't like to not say the answer if it's in my head. But reality of it is, I'm not telling you everything, but I'm telling you, I think I'm probably giving you some sort of idea that we're aware of it, and we have a solution.
Okay. Do you think we stop the mobile mining, it would be great for Electroneum price?
If we radically reduced inflation, it would probably have an effect on price. Talking about price is so difficult when I literally, my lawyer, next time I speak to him, he'll beat me with something. Yes is probably the answer. If we talked hypothetically about any token that has been widely distributed in huge numbers, you have inflation. So a bit like the Zimbabwe's of the world, if you print more money and you ultimately will reduce the value of that money. But yes is the answer. It will, hypothetically, if that situation occurred, there may be some changes coming to that in phase 2.
Because there is another competitor currency called Pi. So they also have like mobile mining, but after certain phase they stop mining right now. So now the price is like stable. So a lot of people, I was checking on Reddit. So a lot of people saying once mobile mining will stop, it will be great for Electroneum price, because Electroneum price is falling because most of the ETFs are held by bookies and traded by bots. Is that true?
Well, I wouldn't say most. No, I would say that the maximum number of bots that I think we find bots in our system. We made it very, very hard to be a bot by introducing this selfie process that we've got now, that you have to do you have to touch your nose, or you have to do a symbol of some sort with your hands, then you have to hold up a piece of paper with a code on. We have humans. We've got a great company in the Philippines that work 24/7 looking at those things and approving people. There may be a tiny handful now, but we did have a bot problem when it was all automated. So capture codes have all been broken. There isn't a capture code out there that hasn't been broken. Some of them have been broken in the most clever ways with artificial intelligence and all sorts. It's quite extraordinary. I saw the Google capture code system has been broken. The botters actually take the Google all the things that come back from Google, and they fire them off to another Google project that's an AI project, and that gives you an answer, and they fed it back into Google. So they were doing some really clever things. So yeah, look, we definitely had we had problems with bots originally, which is why we introduced that selfie process. But the reality of it is now, with that, the number of people on there, 250, 280,000 people, they're real people, shy of maybe 500 or something that may have slipped through with doubles. I mean, we've got face recognition, we've got all sorts of things that goes on. But yeah, look, this is almost turning into an exclusive reveal here, but the reward system is most certainly going to be looked at with a I don't know how we say it. Phase 2 is on its way, and phase 2 is very different from phase 1.
So for every question, answer is phase 2 is coming, phase 2 is coming.
Yeah, so but when I say that, I mean, I know I've said this a lot in the past about something's coming, but I do want people to remember this. I'm often late with delivery of things, but it always happens. So every time I've ever said we're going to deliver something, we do deliver it. We actually were aiming. So we're at I think it's called Anon Summit. It's an online summit. We're on there on the 19th of May. And we are still trying to be ready to have phase 2 live for that summit. So the deadline on that was the 19th of May. However, I said to my staff, we are not going to mention it publicly.
Okay.
Big fail. We're not going to mention it publicly until everything is lined up and we make sure absolutely everything is perfect for this. Because what we've had in the past a few times is I've gone out, had these interviews. I do wear my heart on my sleeve somewhat. So I tell people what's happening. And then what happens is we move too fast. And what I don't want to do this time is go off half-cocked, is the English expression. It's not rude. But I don't want to go off like this. I don't want it to be something that could be negative. So we are making sure we've got everything lined up, and we've got some fantastic things that are being API introduced, etc., etc. So phase 2 is most assuredly being coded, and it's on its way. We are a whisker away. Whether we'll get to that 19th deadline and I can announce it at that summit, I'm not sure. But I will be attempting to do so.
Okay, so one last very important question. When you heard people are keep saying this is a scam, this is an exit scam, this is fake, Electroneum is failing. How do you respond to these kind of questions?
Yeah, well, that's a real frustrating thing to hear. You know, 2.5 years, a lot of hard work, and many grey hairs later. We, you know, if this was an exit scam, you know, we raised a lot of money in an ICO. I have 2 other businesses that I take a salary from, and I take what is a relatively small salary. I'm happy to tell you, it's a £100,000 salary from Electroneum. Now, some people might say that's a lot of money. It's not as much money as I earn from my other businesses, but that's all I've taken. I've not taken any ICO funds. Nobody's got the ICO funds. The ICO funds are there to build this business. If I was going to be a scammer, I would have run away with the ICO funds. There is no scamming here. Nobody takes their time to build a business and make this ecosystem if they are a scammer. It's tremendously upsetting to hear that people could still be saying that about Electroneum when we have bent over backwards to make this ecosystem where so many other projects have done nothing or spent their ICO funds extremely badly. So we're certainly not a scam. We have a very long-term goal. Our belief in that goal is stronger now than it has ever been. And this is the irony, is people were willing to get behind the idea in huge amounts, and now we are in a stronger position than we have ever been. And that is genuinely the case. We've got genuine users. We said we'd get hundreds of thousands, millions of users. We've got them. So when we have, when we send an email out, 400,000 people will open and read that email. You know, I think we've had hundreds of thousands of interactions in terms of clicks on emails. You know, we've got this massive database of interest in Electroneum that we can utilize in that next phase of our business. Building that infrastructure and getting those users is almost unheard of in this space. So we've delivered on phase 1, 100%. We've built an ecosystem you can top up. Bear in mind, we've got 140 countries, loads and loads of different networks. There are probably thousands, certainly hundreds. We've got 300 plus e-commerce websites, I think, that accept Electroneum. But I would say there are probably thousands, if not more than 1,000, 100% more than 1,000 places you can spend Electroneum. So that the next phase will be turning that into thousands and thousands of places. But you can also earn Electroneum in a way that's never happened in the whole of crypto. So you know, someone can spend on a credit card and you can earn in ETN. That's just never happened. So we've got firsts. We were the first for an instant payment custodial app. We were the first for loads and loads of things. First crypto that's ever done a deal directly with an MNO. So a mobile network operator. They haven't done a deal with Ethereum or with Bitcoin. We are the first. Electroneum is the first. And so whenever I see on Twitter or whatever, somebody saying, oh, Electroneum's a scam, it crushes me, because we're just so not that. We are the exact opposite of that. We work tirelessly to make this happen. We're also passionate about it because of where this market has led us. We're very, very passionate about making a difference. The testimonials we've got coming back from people on any task are fantastic. Ollie at the office is writing a handful of these up. So there is some amazing stuff coming out of what any task is doing, and yeah, you're going to see that coming out soon. But yeah, look, please don't ever think that this is that. It's just so not, and it makes me cross.
Okay, one final question. Okay, last. So, what is the future of Electroneum, and how much we can expect in coming days or in future?
Well, you will see. So you're going to see a bit of a change to the structure of how it works. However, what you will see is you'll see more and more actual real world use. So we're really focusing on getting those buyers in for any task. So the more, I mean, we're in a bit of a world, you know, strange place at the moment. So a lot of the people that we were talking to, they've actually furloughed their staff, and they're not necessarily operating at the moment. But as we come out of this, we'll be in a really strong place, because the platform of AnyTask is still undergoing development. We haven't furloughed any of our staff. We are operating as normal. We've got our development staff working at home, and they are working really hard. AnyTask's admin back end has come a long way. You've seen front end developments. lots and lots of changes to make it better. We're finding bugs that we're fixing. We're finding processes that we need to implement to enable us to handle initially we started off with, dribs and drabs of sales. And as those sales numbers comes in, the process for accepting tasks and refunding tasks where required, that whole process has been changing to and fro. So I would say that you're going to see AnyTask take off to be one of the leading platforms. We're going to drive a huge number of people into that. And that means that we're going to have a huge number of people earning ETN. If we've got a huge volume of ETN going into the earnings, you're going to see much, much more interest in people accepting ETN. So you're going to see a lot more vendors, be it e-commerce, be it local vendors, be it street vendors, be it utilities, etc. So the next phase of ETN is most certainly going to be, we've got wide distribution, we've got huge user numbers. Now you're going to start seeing that happen. And we also identify our things. So if you see a mobile top up, it's identified on the blockchain. Same thing with AnyTask. Any task that gets purchased, it's identified on the blockchain. So everything is sort of that you can stand up to scrutiny. And we've also we've invited a few different people into our offices to look at things. And we're happy to be open to scrutiny. That's the reality. We are one of the things we should be up there in the top 10 cryptos. That's where we should be, because we've got real world utility and we actually operate. Will we be in the top 30? I'm very, very confident of the top 30. Should we be in the top 10? Yes.
That's what I wanted to hear. Okay. So that's all the questions from my end.
So it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm sorry I waffle on so long. I do tend to waffle in my answers, so my apologies. And I'll make sure I get this file over to you this afternoon. Thank you very much. Pleasure to
Thank you.
All the best.
Same here. You're welcome.